What's up guys, welcome back to our channel Around the Bend. For those of you new to our channel, welcome. My name is Kylie.
My name is Noah.
Today we are going to share with you guys our trip to one of our favorite parks, Death Valley.
Death Valley is the largest national park in the continental United States. It is also the hottest, driest, and lowest out of all the national parks. It also happens to be one of the hottest places in the entire world. There's a small town in Death Valley called Furnace Creek, which holds the record for the highest recorded temperature at a whopping 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Due to its extreme heat, it's recommended that the best time to visit Death Valley is during October to April. Other than that, like in the middle of the summer, it can just be somewhat unbearable.
Another perk of visiting Death Valley during the months of late March to early April is the fact that you can see some pretty cool floral displays.
A big reason that I enjoyed Death Valley so much was because I had very low expectations going into the national park. I hadn't seen many photos from it, hadn't really heard much about it. I just thought it was going to be plain hot sand for as far as the eye could see. But we were actually greeted with some awesome mountain ranges, really high peaks which actually get snow covered during the winter, which is pretty weird to think about. But yeah, there's just so much to take in. The landscape's quite breathtaking, and every other valley you go into, there's a complete different landscapes.
So we started on the east side of Death Valley, but even before entering the park, we visited a couple spots, one of them being the Red Cliffs Natural Area. It's just right on the side of the road. There's a big old parking lot, bathrooms, and you can walk up to these red cliffs, stand in a little cave, super cool spot. Another place we also visited was Alabama Hills.
Alabama Hills is quite popular, especially on Instagram. I'm sure that you guys have seen photos of this place on social media. For the right reasons. It's a really photogenic area. The Alabama Hills are free for camping, so it's first come, first serve, and anywhere you can find a spot. There's no reservations required, and that's only because it's still outside of the national park. It's a great sunrise spot. Unfortunately, we were only there kind of in mid-afternoon, so the light was very harsh, but if you're trying to get some beautiful sunlight on the mountains, we highly suggest sunrise. We recommend stopping at the gas station in that town. It's called Lone Pine because once you enter the national park, there's no gas for miles, to say the least. So you want to be sure that you're filled up and ready to go. And also buy a lot of water at that gas station. You're going to be going through a lot of water in Death Valley, so it's just better to be prepared, better safe than sorry.
Our first stop in Death Valley was the Father Crowley Overlook at Rainbow Canyon, which is also referred to as Star Wars Canyon. It's a famous spot for fighter jets to test their skills going through a very narrow canyon. Most days there are fly-throughs, however it's pretty much impossible to know when they will fly through, and also happens so fast. Also, there are bathrooms at this stop, so if you do need to go there since there are very few bathrooms in Death Valley.
Right after the Father Crowley Overlook, you're going to be hitting some awesome roads. I mean, the roads are super photogenic in Death Valley. I couldn't stop taking photos of them on our trip, so here's a few to give you guys a rough idea. The next spot that you guys are going to hit on the road is the Mesquite Sand Dunes. They're very beautiful. We do recommend bring a lot of water, as I mentioned before, when you go walking out there. It's also very easy to end up further away from the parking lot than you expected. It only felt like we were walking for about 5 minutes, but we turned around and the car was like a lot further away than we had initially expected. So just be careful about like where you're going and which sand dunes you're going over. Don't really go in the middle of the day. It's like too hot, and the sand also gets really hot. So a lot of people think they can go walking around the sand barefoot. I highly suggest wearing shoes in Death Valley, even if you're on sand. But it's a beautiful spot. It would be really cool for sunset because the sun does set in the back of the valley and the dunes can get all lit up in orange, so great spot.
Watch out for the rattlesnakes.
Yes.
Like, there are some rattlesnakes there. We didn't see any, but just keep an eye out.
So after our long trek through the Mesquite Sand Dunes, we made our way to a pretty famous spot for sunset called Zabriskie Point. It's composed of sediments from Furnace Creek Lake, which dried up roughly 5 million years ago. That was a fact I didn't know until we were doing some research for this video. It's a great sunset spot. There's a lot of like textures within the mountains that are awesome to photograph, and just like really cool peaks all around you everywhere you look. And out of all the spots we went to in Death Valley, this was the most crowded, but I would say 20 people tops during sunset.
For those of you who despise going to national parks because of crowds, this is definitely the park for you.
We maybe passed a car, I'd say every 25 to 30 minutes. Yeah, dead empty. Honestly, I don't know why. I would like expect more people considering how beautiful it is, but I guess
Pretty
it's
underrated part.
underrated for sure, and it's a nice little secret gem, so don't tell anybody.
We just told them.
Zabriskie Point, there's like a large parking lot that you park in. You walk up a really short paved path to a circular viewpoint technically, and from that point there's like these little trailheads that bring you down into what could be called like the sediment mountains pretty much that you see from the main viewpoint. And those trails are actually really cool to go on because it will really bring you like into the like rolling hills pretty much, and you can just walk around. I'm sure there's some awesome photo opportunities within there.
After Zabriskie Point, we drove to our campsite for the night, which is about only like a 10-minute drive from Zabriskie Point. Leaving Zabriskie, you will go west, and you're gonna want to turn off to the right heading that direction, and it's a very easy road to miss. It's called Echo Canyon Road. It's not paved, it's pretty rocky, and if you pull off onto this road and drive a mile in, you can camp anywhere you want. Totally worth it, no one else there. Just again, be cautious when you're going to Death Valley National Park. Temperatures do fluctuate a lot depending on seasons you go into, so if you're going in the winter, it can get up to those high temperatures, but also during the night can drop to 30 degrees, whereas we were there in the beginning of May, and it got up to 100 degrees, and by the time we went to bed that night, it was still 87 degrees, super hot. We planned on sleeping in the car that night, ended up rolling all the windows down. Probably the worst night of sleep we got that whole trip.
We thought opening the windows was gonna be a smart idea, but I mean the only air blowing in Death Valley is hot air. So it was just like a constant heat wave coming through our car. So after a long, hot night in the car with hot air blowing through all night, we woke up bright and early for sunrise, and we went to the Badwater Basin. It's a salt flat in Death Valley. It is also the lowest point in North America at 282 feet below sea level. Once we parked there, there's probably only 2 other cars, and you can walk like a long ways out into the salt flats. I mean, these plains are like miles long and miles wide. The textures get really cool on the ground, and it's just interesting. So I'd never seen something like that before in my life. We were there for sunrise, a little bit disappointed for sunrise. Right where you park, there's a huge, I would say, like rocky mountain or cliff that kind of blocks the sunrise light. So the salt flat stays in the shade for like a good portion of the morning. We haven't done it, but we suggest visiting the salt flats either middle of the day when they're like really lit up from the sun, or maybe later at sunset. We don't know because we weren't there for sunset, but the lighting I would assume would be better than sunrise. So Badwater Basin, either in the middle of the day or at sunset.
After Badwater Basin, we made our way over to Artist Palette, which was only about like a 20-minute drive. Everywhere is pretty close over there, whether it's Zabriskie, Artist Palette, or Badwater Basin. So you get off on a 1-lane road and you think that you're just driving to this really cool scenic point, but the whole way there on this road is also awesome. We stopped to take pictures. Well, Noah wanted me to stop to take pictures of the road several times. Very impressed with this spot. By the time we got up to Artist Palette, I was expecting to see canyons that were a little colorful, not like any of those photos I see on Instagram. Definitely super bright colors, and these colors are actually from volcanic deposits rich in compounds such as iron oxides and chlorite, which creates this whole rainbow effect. Once you get there, you can actually walk down into these little like canyon areas. We do recommend setting aside about an hour for your time at Artist Palette, because there are so many little canyons and so many other so many colors that you can go take pictures with. Even just like climbing up and down these little mounds of sediments, really cool. We did go to Artist Palette around 7:30 or 8, which I actually would recommend. This is a good time to go. It's right when the sunlight kind of gets over those peaks and starts shining down, so those colors just illuminate really perfectly and makes for really cool pictures.
After Artist Palette, we made our way down the road to a place called Golden Canyon. This actually wasn't on our list of places to stop at. We just kind of stumbled on it, and it was still fairly early in the morning. We had time to kill, so we thought might as well check it out. I would recommend going there for sunrise. We weren't there for sunrise because we were stuck at the salt flats, but from what I could tell, I think sunrise would be awesome from there. It's called Golden Canyon because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's these like golden mountains and like golden sand dunes that you can walk through. The sunlight creates these awesome like effects coming, like shining over the canyons into these small little valleys. And the trails went pretty deep in there. So you could easily hike for, I would say, at least a few miles. We only did about 1.5 to 2
Yeah.
miles just because it was so hot, and that was only at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
There's a recurring theme: choose wisely when you go hiking and make sure you bring a lot of water. But yeah, this place makes for some awesome photographs, and we'd love to go back there for sunrise one day. So after our short 1 to 2 mile trek in the Golden Canyon, we decided to move on from Death Valley and we drove to Las Vegas, which is only about a 2-hour drive. It's really close. Even if you're not planning on visiting Death Valley and you're in Vegas for some reason, we highly suggest taking a day or two to go explore the park because it will definitely be worth your time.
And when you are driving either from Las Vegas to Death Valley or from Death Valley to Vegas, watch out for aliens. You are close, I think.
To Area
51, there is a gas station that actually is kind of like alien themed, which is pretty cool looking, being a stop. But well, we want to stay in the AC. We want to stay in the AC too.
That's true.
But thanks guys for watching our Death Valley video. Even if you aren't planning on going to Death Valley after watching this, I hope you plan a trip right now to go there. Super cool place.
Be sure to tune into our next video in this national park series where we're going to be going over Glacier National Park in our home state of Montana.
Woo! But the tale goes, the donkey wouldn't drink out of the water. And the guy never knew why, but it's because it's too salty.
What?
Do you know, like, that's why it's called
Oh,
groundwater basin?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.